You met online,
Yes.
and that's when you asked her for money.
I didn't borrow it.
Show me.
Because she offered to help me. So I kind of got comfortable to ask.
Got comfortable to ask? I don't give a rat's behind.
This is Judy Justice suing her ex-boyfriend, James Stewart, for travel costs and a loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2102, Peterson versus Stewart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Joy.
Miss Peterson, you and Mr. Stewart met online.
Yes.
You met Mr. Stewart, and according to your complaint, a romance developed, and there are two things that you believe, now that the romance is over, that he owes you. One of them is a loan that you made to him for $1,000. Now, Mr. Stewart does not deny that you gave him $1,000, correct?
No, ma'am.
Your defense is that it was a gift
Correct.
and not made as a loan. Okay. On what date did you and Miss Peterson start to date?
We never dated. We actually wasn't through no dating site. Just somehow, coincidence, we came through.
Did you see her?
I met her once in person.
When?
When she paid for a hotel for my birthday.
Give me the date.
January 30th.
Of this year.
Yes, ma'am.
So you met for the first time in January of 2022. Tell me about the $1,000. If you're playing with your papers, you're not going to hear where we're going.
Okay.
The $1,000 at that time, I was been struggling with heart disease, which I just got out the hospital for having a heart surgery last Friday. So financially, my dealership was a little bit under the burden. So I asked her if she would help me.
And when did you ask her? Was that in January?
No, ma'am. That's a couple months later.
All right, so that would be in March.
Yeah.
And it's the only time that you ever met her was in January.
I met her once, other than that, when she gave me the money. Other than that, it was just normally her texting me, how you doing? Do you want to meet up?
Okay. So you met personally twice.
Correct.
And after January, you didn't see each other personally, just by messages. And that's when you asked her for money. And you were going to tell me why in March you asked her for money. I understand that you just recently came out of the hospital, and while I'm happy to see you looking well and healthy, it's really irrelevant to this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so why did you ask her for $1,000?
Because she offered to help me.
No. Nobody offers to help you unless they know that you need help.
Well, it's in writing.
No. Nobody offers to help you unless you let them know that you need help.
I was kind of life coaching her. We both was going back and forth. We had an open line of communication, so I kind of got comfortable to ask. So I see what you're saying.
Got comfortable to ask?
She already gave me money before that $1,000. That's why I was comfortable.
Just a second. I'm talking about the loan. Mm-hmm. I want you to tell me, since you acknowledge that she gave you the money, tell me why you needed it.
Well, I needed it because I paid for the trip, which was $2,180, which she gave me $2,000 plus $160 more for luggage. Came to just shy of $2,400.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, she's already came to me and gave me money for us to take this little trip together.
What does that have to do with this $1,000? That's not what I'm talking about.
Because she was supposed to come and reimburse some of the money because I paid already into the trip. So I was asking her for money.
Am I crazy? Did he start to talk about his business needing money? He has a used car business.
Yes.
Really, before you come on a program like this, you should really watch so that you would know that one of my favorite sayings is, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory, especially if you're smart. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're not so smart, and within 3 minutes you tell two different stories, that, Mr. Stewart, is a phrase that you should learn to live by. If you tell the truth, you don't need a good memory.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's only because you wouldn't know the truth, because you have been introduced to the truth.
He says, the $1,000 at that time, I was struggling with heart disease, which I just got out of the hospital for having a heart surgery last Friday. So actually, my dealership is a little bit under the burden, so I asked her if she would help me.
So you remember saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's different from she was paying me back. You just have to acknowledge that's different. Okay, and let me tell you what you swore to in your answer. She offered to help me catch up on my child support.
On a phone conversation, yes.
I just asked you one simple question, sir. You acknowledged she gave you $1,000. What was it for? So now I have 3 reasons. 1, your car dealership was a little bit of a burden. 2, she was returning your money to you. And 3, you were catching up on your child support. Those are the 3 things that I have in front of me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Whichever one you would like, ma'am.
So far it's $1,000 for the plaintiff. Now, whether it was for school or whether it was for your children's support, she's not responsible for your children's support. You're responsible for your children's support. Have you ever met his children?
No.
She doesn't even know your children.
No.
Do you have a child support order?
No. She asked me to marry her, though.
Just a sec. I asked you a question,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
her. Do you have children? The answer is
Yes, I have children. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Caption coming up.
This is not a dance.
No, I'm just
This is
saying.
not a dance.
Yes, ma'am.
You lead, I lead, I always lead.
Yes, ma'am.
Later.
You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent.
A woman grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Joy and James.
Joy Peterson claims her ex-boyfriend, James Stewart, owes for travel costs and a loan.
Now, the children do not live with you.
They're above age. Yes, ma'am.
When you swore in your answer that you had gotten behind in your child support order, what child support order was that?
It's the last child because I got behind because I was out of work. So they're above age, but I owe a little arrears.
Okay, so that's the child support that you were behind. Had you been noticed to come to court on those arrears?
I've never been in contempt, no, ma'am. I've always kept a good standings with them.
Okay, but you're behind now.
Yes, ma'am.
You were behind then in March.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew you were behind because?
I was on bed rest for 5 months due to a knee surgery and some heart issues.
Okay, did you request that your child support order that was on arrears only be stayed while you weren't working?
I got a new caseworker, wasn't willing to work with me at that time. So
Okay, so there was difficulty. Your caseworker was involved in this child support order. That sounds better. And the child support order was in favor of the state?
I don't owe the state no money. I paid all fees off with them. I just owe the back child support.
To the mother of the children?
Yes.
Okay, $1,000. Now, I'm going to come to you. According to you, you gave the defendant $2,000 to buy travel tickets for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
I gave him money in March.
At the same time that you gave him the $1,000?
No, ma'am. That was in April.
Show me proof of that. And I want to see $2,000 taken out from someplace for him to pay for these tickets. And they were tickets for you to go from where you live, which is where?
Springfield, Ohio.
To Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
The $2,000 was in March. What were you going to do in March?
In March, I gave him the $2,000 to purchase tickets because I asked him, can you get discounts for us to go to Miami because I was going to have surgery. So he told me yes. Sure, so I gave him the $2,000 for that.
That's not.
Then he said, well, that's going to be more than that. I said, well, that's all I have for the tickets for me and my daughters. He said he wanted to go, so he was planning on going.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes, ma'am.
on what date did she give you the $2,000 to buy the tickets?
It was early March. She could.
Yeah, March, it looks like March 25th. She gave you $2,000. And when were you supposed to go to Miami?
We were supposed to go July 4th, and she.
Okay, just a sec. You're supposed to go in July. So you're talking about 4 months later.
Yeah, she canceled the trip.
Okay. When did she cancel the trip?
She canceled the trip about a month later.
So she canceled the trip in April.
Yeah, and it was a third party, so it's non-refundable.
I don't know that at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, just a second. So you're going to have to show me.
I didn't borrow it.
You borrowed the $1,000. I didn't say you borrowed this $2,000. She gave you money for a specific purpose.
Right, she went-
Don't speak. She gave you money for a specific purpose to purchase airline tickets.
For us.
Which you... I don't give a rat's behind for who. She gave you money to purchase.
As I did.
Airline tickets.
As I did.
This is not a dance.
No, I'm just
This
saying
is
I
not
did.
you lead, I lead, you... I always lead.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
I always lead.
Yes, ma'am.
She gave you $2,000 to buy tickets. That you acknowledge. The trip was canceled 3 months before the trip. Now, You say they were non-refundable tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
Show me. I just want to see where you tried to get either a refund or a credit 3 months. And I don't speak. You have to show me, because you just said the tickets were non-refundable tickets, and I could neither get money back for them when she canceled it or a credit. And I said, in all that paperwork, show me.
It's just public knowledge on their website. I apologize, I do not have it.
It's not public knowledge on any website. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. $1,000 loan, $2,000 for the tickets. We're finished here. Thank you very much. Out!
This court is adjourned.
Out!
She wanted to go on a vacation.
Taking advantage of me.
She was being a little aggressive.
Don't even look that way.
Now, hopefully, we can just move on with our lives.
Sarah.
I think we should print that on cards to hand out to people as they leave here. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That defendant, in the first 15 seconds, told 3 different stories about the same $1,000. Reminded me of a toddler when you ask if they had cookies and it's all over their mouth and they say, no, I didn't have chocolate, I didn't have candy. 15 seconds, 3 different stories. So if you tell the truth,
You don't need a good memory.
not at all.
Case 2158, Smith versus Crosley. All parties, please step forward.
Justin Smith is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, for an unpaid loan.
Miss Crosley, I'm going to start with you. You and Mr. Smith were in a romantic relationship for a period of time.
Yes.
From when to when?
I want to say it was about a year before my son was born. My son was born February 11th, 2019, and our relationship ended about 4 or 5 months after he was born.
And after you separated, according to what I read, you sort of remained friends.
Yes.
Great. You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I am a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent. And this was after you had already been separated for a long period of time. And at some point, what I'm piecing together is you discussed your financial circumstances with Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And one of your options was to seek protection in bankruptcy.
Correct.
And Mr. Smith thought that that was a bad idea.
Yes.
So he suggested that you take out a loan, consolidate all this debt, which was on, I assume, on credit cards with very high interest. And since he had credit, he would take out the loan and you would pay that loan off, which was manageable every month. Is that generally what this is about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Caption. Coming up.
His behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw.
I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Justin and Jessica.
Justin Smith claims his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, owes for an unpaid loan.
Mr. Smith did take out that loan, month and year.
March of 2022, this year.
What were the payments each month, starting in March or April, principal and interest?
He had told me that it was $500.
Told you they were $500. He took out that loan, and am I correct, Ms. Crosley, that you paid off your credit card debt?
Yes.
And you paid off your debt with the loan that he took out?
Yes.
And you did, in fact, create a situation where the money, because you were employed, would come out directly from your bank account to go to pay off the loan to his bank account.
Yes.
And you did that in what month?
That was started, I believe, at the end of April or beginning of May.
And how many such payments did you make?
Biweekly payments, I believe I made about 6.
Thereby acknowledging that this was a loan. At some point, you stopped making the payments. What month did you stop making the payments?
In July of this year.
Why?
So I had started seeing my current boyfriend.
This is not a social show. Just tell me why.
So I had to take a day off of work to file for an order of protection.
Why did you have to take a day off from work to file for an order of protection?
Because I was advised to by a police officer I spoke to.
Okay, and I assume against him?
Yes.
Okay, give me the incident.
Okay, so in July, when I started seeing my current boyfriend, Justin had expressed that he wanted us to get back together. And I had told him no, that was not going to happen. And then his behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw. And then there was an incident on July 19th where I had allowed his mother to take my son to a play, and she was supposed to drop him off back to me. And instead of dropping him back off to me, she had dropped him off with his father at his work. And then I got a call from Justin yelling, saying, "Where are you? What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm on my way back home. Your mom's supposed to drop off Braden." He's like, "I have Braden. I'll meet you at your house." So I said, okay. We got to outside my house, and then he pulled up next to me and then started screaming out of the car, like, "Where were you? What were you doing?" I was like, "I was spending time with Anthony, my boyfriend." And he's like, "I'm taking Braden. I'm not going to give him back to you." And my son's crying in the back seat. And I said, "No, you give him back to me. It is my day to have him." And he drove away. He later called me and said I could meet them at Dairy Queen. So I met them there. I got out of the car. I went up to my son. And as I was getting him in the car, Justin had walked up to my car and started yelling and swearing at me. And as me and my son started driving off, he threw a milkshake at my car, which scared me and my son very much.
Okay, good. And you filed for an order of protection. You had a trial on the order of protection,
Yes.
and the judge dismissed your order of protection.
Yes.
After the trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
So when I had lost my job.
You lost your job when?
The next day. The incident happened on the 19th. I had to take the 20th off to file for the order of protection. The 21st, I was let go.
Oh, that had nothing to do with you being let go. Nothing. I just want to know why you stopped paying on the loan. You stopped paying on the loan because you lost your job? Are you working now?
Yes, I just started working.
Well, did you start paying him back?
No. So
Why?
Also in July, when all these incidents happened, Justin had stopped paying for daycare, which was our agreed upon child support payment. We don't have a court order for child support, but he had been paying all of daycare. I cover all of his other finances.
So that was an agreement that you had, that he would pay for daycare?
Yes.
Okay. And he stopped paying in July?
Yes, he started only paying half of daycare.
Okay, so let's go back. He started paying for half.
Yes.
How much was he supposed to pay per month?
$560 was the full amount of daycare each month.
Okay, and he had been paying that. In July, he cut it down to?
To $270, I believe.
80.
80.
Okay, so he wasn't completely not paying. He was paying part of it.
Correct.
Tell me why you cut the payments in half, because you have a counterclaim for that.
Yeah. So in July, we started a custody case for full custody of our son.
You're talking in July. Who started the custody case?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you retain a lawyer?
I did.
Is that case still ongoing?
It is.
Well, then I'm not entertaining anything about the daycare because you have that case in family court. The court there will make a determination as far as future child support and whether or not this daycare should have been paid. So you have no reason for not paying the loan.
I was planning on filing bankruptcy.
Okay, but you didn't. You didn't file for bankruptcy. You did the smart thing. How much is left on the loan?
It's in excess of $12,000 or $11,000.
What interest rate is on that loan, by the way?
36%, I believe. Current balance as of November 30th, $12,631.
How is a 30% loan better than her credit cards?
She had some loans in excess of 800%.
From whom?
Or over 500%. These were online lenders.
Oh, wow. Okay, you have a counterclaim. Harassment, daycare costs is out. Lost wages because you say you had to take a day off to file a protective order and you were fired? Nonsense. Harassment, let's hear it. And don't go back to anything that you told the judge during the hearing that you had where he dismissed your application for an order of protection.
Okay, well, the order of protection.
Okay,
that was...
They're just shh. Well, if that's the testimony, it's already been adjudicated. A judge, using the same measure of proof that I would use, dismissed your case. So I'm not relitigating that case. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I believe he was angry that I started a relationship with somebody.
I think the restraining order was part of her defense as to why she didn't want to pay me back anymore.
I was ready to file bankruptcy, and he had offered to take it out for me.
You know, at the end of the day, the loan is still agreed upon and still needs to be repaid.
Sarah.
I think that that's a good lesson that you can't use the court systems and restraining orders to get out of a loan that you have really no excuse for not paying except for you lost your job. And I just think it's tricky. I think that a lot of defendants come in here and think that they can just say, I didn't have the money and so I don't have to pay it, but that's not the case.
What's most interesting to me is these 800% or 500% or 100% interest-bearing loans.
I know, it's something.
Where did that come from?
It's something I've seen recently in the past couple of years. It seems like every online shopping venue now has some form of loan payment or loan offering or sign up for our loan program. And I'd never seen that before. And if you don't read the fine print, you could get stuck in, just like the defendant here, with a lot of those high interest loans.
Yeah.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Your daughter was involved in a hit and run.
I believe my daughter.
And your daughter ran away. She's 14 years old. She could have killed people. When did you call the police? The answer is you did not, but this is the example that you're setting. That's a great lesson.
This is Judy Justice. Tanya Atkins is suing vehicle owner Kelly DePanger for damages and lost wages from a car accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2165, Atkins versus DePanger.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Judy points at a young woman and gestures for her to approach the defendant's table.
Tell me your first name.
Destiny.
How old are you, Destiny?
I'm 14.
And you don't have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
So you know you're not allowed to drive a car?
Yes, I do.
You took your mother's car without permission?
I did.
You were with a girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Who also is your age?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And you stole your mother's car on what date?
October 7th or 8th.
Where was your mother?
Sleeping.
What time did you steal your mother's car?
Around 4, 3, around that time.
What?
Like, I say about 3:30. I'm sorry.
The morning, afternoon, or evening?
In the morning, a.m.
3:30 in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an accident?
Yes, ma'am.
You had an accident with this lady's car.
Yes, ma'am.
And instead of stopping, you took off, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a bad accident.
Yes, ma'am.
And was the damage to the side of your car? Was the damage to the side of your car?
No, ma'am.
Passenger side?
No, ma'am.
Don't play. Passenger side? No. Driver side? No. Where was the damage to your car?
The front.
Front. Okay. So now that I've got the clear picture, you stole your mother's car, you have no driver's license, whatever insurance your mother had on the car would certainly not cover this accident because you're an unauthorized driver, you have no driver's license. Your mother certainly wasn't going to report you to the police for stealing her car. I don't think you did that, no, right? And the damage to your car was in the front. Front. You're going to tell me, but just so that I know. The damage to your car was on the side.
Yes, ma'am.
Of course. You see, cars don't slide together. Do you know what I mean? One car hits another. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Yes. Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Better. Okay, so now we're going to go to October 8th.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were on your way to work?
Yes, ma'am.
And, Miss Atkins, tell me what happened.
I was going to work. It was 5:30 in the morning. I was going up Franklin Road. I got to Brookville Road.
You were driving straight?
Yes, I'm going up Franklin Road. Mm-hmm. I get to a light at Brookville Road. I make a stop because the light is red. I'm sitting at the red light. The light changes green. I proceed to go through the light at the green light. The defendant is coming the opposite way from me. She's not in the turning lane, she's in the regular straight lane. So I see her coming at a rapid speed, but I'm thinking she's going straight, so I proceed to go through the light. By the time I get mid-light, I don't know what happened, but she decides to turn. And when she turns right into me, and hits me.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then I hear her and her friends are hollering. Her friend is hollering, "Run, Destiny, we have to go. Run, Destiny, we have to go." I'm still trying to get myself together, and I'm looking, and all I could do was grab my phone and dial 911 to call the police.
And by that time, they were gone?
And by that time, they were gone.
Miss Atkins, how did you find her?
We talked to the insurance company.
No, wait a second.
Okay.
How did you find her? They took off.
Oh, they took off.
They took off.
Her car was still at the accident.
So they ran and left the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
So my husband came. I had called my husband as well. He came to the accident scene. He took pictures of the cars and the plates, and we contacted our insurance. Our insurance gave us the name, and I went on Facebook, and I looked her up, and I seen Destiny, who I had seen run from the accident. And we found out she was hiring for a job. So inboxed her, found out where she worked, and we went to her job.
You mean her mother?
Her mother.
Mother.
My daughter inboxed you and asked you what...
Don't speak to her.
I'm sorry.
Don't speak to her.
Okay.
What?
Listen to me. Whatever you say is no good. Just understand that. Your daughter stole your car. She's 14 years old. She could have killed people. She could have killed people. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for her stealing your car. Has she ever done it before?
No.
But she did.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she did, and she had an accident because she didn't have a driver's license. She lacked state permission to be behind the wheel of a car.
Caption coming up.
Let's go. Did you know your daughter had been in an accident? Of course you did, because she left the car there, right?
Yes.
So you knew she had been in an accident?
Yes.
Did you contact the police?
No.
Why not?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tanya, Kelly, and Destiny.
Tanya Atkins claims vehicle owner Kelly DePanger owes for damages after Kelly's 14-year-old daughter crashed into her car.
So she didn't have a driver's license. She lacked state permission to be behind the wheel of a car.
But she still harassed me, though.
What?
At my job. She harassed me at my job.
Just a second. Did she contact you first?
As far as...
Just as anything, contact.
No.
Email. So
I don't know who her daughter was.
You're going to... What?
I didn't know who her daughter was trying to contact me on Facebook.
I don't...
Judy raises her hand.
Did you know your daughter had been in an accident? Let's go. Did you know your daughter had been in an accident? Of course you did, because she left the car there, right?
Yes.
So you knew she had been in an accident?
Yes.
Right? Did you contact the police?
No.
Why not?
She came to the house freaking out and, in panic of her getting in an accident. And my daughter
So what did you, just a second, so what did you do? What did you do? Your daughter stole your car. I see the picture of the accident. The picture of the accident clearly shows that your daughter hit her car. Your daughter's car is the gray one.
This is the very first time
Just a
I've
second.
seen this.
Well, I'm telling you, when you have front-end damage, that means you hit somebody. She's wrong from the get-go. So I'm asking you, she came home, you told somebody, did you call the police and say, listen, my 14-year-old daughter took my car without permission, there was a bad accident, I hope nobody was hurt. Did you do that?
No, I did not.
No, of course not. You waited for somebody to find you.
No, not necessarily.
Well, what do you mean not necessarily? Unless you contacted somebody, did you go back to the...
I was under the impression that they called the police.
Just a second, what would give you that impression? Your daughter ran away.
She said that cops were called.
How did she know the cops were called? She ran away. What?
The cops were there. One of a cop had spoke to me that night. I was...
After the accident?
No, before. I mean, yeah, after the accident. But
Well, the accident happened 3:30 in the morning. The officer spoke to you at night. That's after the accident.
Yes, ma'am. But there's a fire department right by where we got into an accident at. And there was a police car parked while I was fleeing the scene. And he had asked me what I was doing, and I told him that I was fine and that there had just been a car accident. And he went.
And the policeman told you to leave?
No.
He stopped and spoke to a policeman that there had been this kind of car accident, that you were driving with that, and the policeman told you to leave? Okay.
Judy waves her hand.
Did you notify your insurance company?
Unfortunately.
That's either a yes or a no.
No, because I don't have insurance. It lapsed.
Double whammy. So your daughter follows in her mother's foot. This is the example that you're setting. She's driving your car without a license, and you have a car that has no insurance. That's a great lesson. And so what happens is a perfect storm. Your car without insurance, driven by your unlicensed minor child, causes a stupendous accident where someone could have been killed. You don't call the police. Did you go and look at the scene of the accident? It's either a yes or a no.
Not the scene, no.
The scene. I'm talking about the scene of the accident. Your daughter came home. Did she tell you right away what happened? Shh. What time did your daughter get home?
About 7 or 8 in the morning.
Well, where did she go after the accident? Did you ask her?
She was waiting for a ride. She had woke me up in my sleep and told me about the accident.
So the accident that happened 3:30 in the morning, according to her, or 5:30. So she was driving around for a couple of hours before the accident happened 5:30. An hour and a half later, she woke you up?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she tell you where the accident happened?
Yes.
And what did you do? 7:30 in the morning, she had a terrible accident. She told you where it happened. Did she tell you that she ran away from the accident?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, she does have severe asthma.
Just to say, I don't care whether she has severe asthma or not. It's irrelevant to me. I'm asking you what you did.
Right.
What you did. Your daughter calls you, not from the house.
She comes in the house.
Oh, I thought you said she called you. Not important. She came into the house at 7:30. She told you that you stole the car, went for a joyride with her friend, whatever language she used, and she had a very bad accident. The car was demolished. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do? 7:30 in the morning. I want to know what you did. 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. What did you do?
She wakes me up. I'm freaking out. She's freaking out.
I don't care freaking out. It's
did you
not
do?
relevant. Don't speak to your mother. I'm asking your mother a question. What did you do?
As soon as she told me that, I was freaking out about it, and I went into mommy mode because she was outside in hours, waiting for a ride. So, and she was having asthma problems. She was in a panic. So I immediately, I was trying to figure out what's going on, but I also wanted to make sure that my daughter was okay.
Oh, that takes a half hour.
So
That
I went
takes a half
to
hour.
her
What did you
room,
do at 8 o'clock?
And I gave her a breathing treatment.
What's that? After you gave her the breathing treatment, that's 8 o'clock. Now it's 8:15.
As we're giving her a treatment, we are looking through the phone, internet and looking to see what tow companies, what place would have our car. And we finally figure out where our car was, and I got a ride to go look at my car.
What time?
I would say maybe about 9, 10 o'clock.
Okay. When was the call to the police? Now you took care of your daughter, you gave her a breathing treatment. You looked through the internet. When did you call the police? Your daughter was involved in a hit and run.
I was under assumption that the police were called.
Who told you that?
That the police was at the scene.
Just a second. Who told you that? She ran away.
Well, I do know that the car got sent to a police, impound, towing company.
You didn't know that until you looked it up.
Right.
I'm asking you when you called the police.
So
the answer is you did not.
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, so I don't have to go look any further. No insurance, no driver's license, fled the scene, her fault.
Caption coming up.
How dare you have a car on the road without insurance, and how dare you place other people at risk by getting behind the wheel of a car when you're 14 years old and have no business doing that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tanya, Kelly, and Destiny.
Tanya Atkins is accusing vehicle owner Kelly DePangier of refusing to pay for damages after Kelly's 14-year-old daughter crashed into Tanya's car.
So now you have insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a note on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
The car is totaled. It looks like it's a total car to me.
Yes, ma'am.
How much was left on the note for the car?
$35,000.
Was left on the note?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll take a look at those papers in a second. And what was the check from insurance?
They paid $30,000.
Can I see, please?
Tanya flips through documents.
I don't have my glasses, and they're in my purse. I'm sorry.
Maybe your husband can help you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
A man approaches Tanya, produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So am I correct that they paid you $35,749? Is that what they paid you?
That's what they paid the dealership, yes, ma'am.
$35,749. And the amount financed was $39,800?
That is correct.
And you hadn't made any payments?
Yes, ma'am, we've made payments.
This is $39,826, but you made payments, so that would reduce the amount of the loan.
This is the original copy of when we purchased the vehicle. And then I have a list of the payments that we made right here.
What I want to know is, you're suing for the difference between what was paid
Yes, ma'am.
to the loan company and what you still owed that you had to make good on, correct?
Correct.
How much money did you have to make good on to the loan company? It's not $5,000.
No.
How much money did you have to pay the loan company to clear the debt?
What we had was called a gap insurance.
So you had gap?
Yes, ma'am.
So all you had was a deductible. So all you had to pay was, if you had gap...
Which was a $500 deductible.
Just a second.
Sorry.
That's all. That's what I want to know. You had gap insurance, so the gap covered whatever the
gap
difference...
didn't cover the complete loss of the vehicle because they said we didn't have uninsured motorists, so we had to come out of pocket.
So now I want you to show me
Yes, ma'am.
what your out-of-pocket was.
Tanya's husband hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not understanding this. You want to tell me what the out-of-pocket is? Gap paid. How much?
The rest besides 17. What we owe.
$1,756.
Yes, ma'am. That's what we owe out of pocket.
Okay, not $5,000.
No, ma'am.
$1,756.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, that certainly has to make you whole. I knew it wasn't $5,000 because
Yes.
it says you had gap insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. $1,756. Now, you were taken from that accident scene to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Which hospital?
To Community East.
Were you taken by ambulance?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you stay in the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have any uncovered medical bills?
No, ma'am.
Were they all covered?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So your out-of-pocket expenses $1,756.
Yes, ma'am.
And the discomfort that brought you to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am. And I have a lost wage paper from my employer as well.
I'd like to see it.
Also, if I may say, ma'am, we had to rent a car, obviously, because her car was totaled, and the bill is in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Judy reviews a document.
Mm-hmm. Well, your out-of-pocket expenses, including your lost wages because you didn't work a full shift, you are an hourly employee. Those expenses, your car expenses, the $1,756, all amount to about $3,000. You're suing the defendant for $8,000, right?
Ma'am.
I'm awarding you the $8,000. How dare you have a car on the road without insurance, and how dare you place other people at risk by getting behind the wheel of a car when you're 14 years old and have no business doing that? Do you own or rent your own home?
We rent.
You rent. Do you work?
At the moment, no.
Were you working then?
Yes.
Okay. What happened to your job? That's what you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me she came and she harassed you at your job. Tell me how.
They both did. Well,
No, not both. Her.
The
plaintiff.
Well, her husband is the one that did the talking.
And he said?
And he told me, I have never seen the accident until now, so I have no idea. I believe my daughter.
Well, you shouldn't. Why would you believe a thief?
No.
And a liar?
Believe what happened.
But why would you believe a thief and a liar? She may be a thief and a liar, but she's not stupid. If the plaintiff hit her, she would have stayed at the scene because she got hit. Doesn't that make sense to you? That if she was the one who was in the right and got hit by the plaintiff, she would have remained. She said she saw a police car there, and she spoke to a policeman. So if she was in the right in the accident, what'd she leave for? Okay, you don't know. Judgment for the plaintiff, $8,000. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was very frightening. I've never been in an accident before, and so that time of morning, I'm on my way to work, so I'm not expecting that, of course.
I mean, my daughter took my car.
I'm glad that justice was served.
When I tried to come out to make the turn, I seen her, and we crashed.
I really don't think she gets the concept of what she done.
I don't have a car.
And her mother Doesn't either, obviously.
Single mom without a car.
I think she was trying to get out of paying the money.
I mean, I immediately went into, mommy mode because of her asthma issues.
And I think she also was only concerned about her daughter, which is another big issue to me, too.
But I was frantic. I didn't know what to do.
You didn't never once mention, well, I wanted to check and see if the plaintiff was okay.
I mean, my daughter could have been way worse. I'm just happy she's still here with me.
Make sure you watch your kids. I've been a single parent as well. I raised 3 kids and I've not had to deal with this situation. Don't lay your keys around.
Sarah and Judy.
I will never understand parents like the defendant who cover for their children who have done outrageous things. If I came home and told my father and my mother that I stole their car, was 14, driving a car, and fled the scene of any type of accident, I would need a breathing treatment after they were done with me. That is how it should be, because that is how you raise responsible, accountable children, to raise them into adults.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You were having a party for one of your kids.
Yes.
You were jumping with full force on that sprinkler head. You say she didn't properly supervise your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't require her supervision. The landlord is holding her responsible. She's going to lose her housing.
This Kara Simmons is suing her former friend, Jania Freeman, for water damage caused by Jania's 14-year-old daughter.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello.
Case 2180, Simmons versus Freeman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Kara.
Miss Simmons, how long have you known Miss Freeman?
I met her in the 3rd grade. I've seen her a few times since then.
And you were having a party for one of your kids?
Yes, my oldest son.
How old is he?
12.
And it was a house party. And was she invited?
She was invited. I invited everybody from my Facebook, my family, and my friends.
How many people did you have?
There was about 10 kids that came.
And one of those children was the defendant's daughter, who was 14?
At the time, yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
Could you stand up next to your mother? Tell me your first name.
Miari.
And did you come with one child or more, Miss Freeman?
2.
Your daughter and who else?
My 11-year-old son.
And at some point in the party, the kids went outside.
Yeah, so it was inside of a party room, and they were on the 2nd floor, and they were able to go play at the equipment that's on the 2nd floor.
Do you have photographs of the equipment?
I do on my phone, but I have a picture of where her daughter was playing at.
Let me see what you have.
Kara hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews an image of a large concrete planter.
Okay, come up here.
Niari approaches.
Is this where you were playing?
Yeah.
On the grassy area?
More like, so it was 3 of us. We were all sitting right here, and I just so happened to be like more inside of the plant.
I just want to know whether you were in the planter or outside on this grass. In here or out here?
Both.
So you were both?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can go back.
Niari returns to her mother's side.
Okay. Just for my information, what were you doing in the planter?
Well, more like I was like on top of it, not necessarily like in it. I wasn't trying to be in it, but my friends were sitting down and they were talking, and I didn't want to sit, so I was standing up on it.
Standing up on this is not my question. Were you in the planter where the plants were?
Yes.
Yes. Well, you knew you weren't supposed to be in the planter where the plants were. I mean, you're an intelligent girl, aren't you? Yeah. So you knew you weren't supposed to be in here.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That's all. You know, I mean, we're not talking about a homicide here. We're talking about being someplace you're not supposed to be, in the planter. So it was just the 3 of you outside.
Yes.
The 2 kids who were sitting on the edge of this planter where you're supposed to sit, and you who were both on the edge and inside the planter.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what happened with the head of a sprinkler system while you were out there.
So what happened was we were talking and playing, and I was running around, so I was going from it on top of it, trying to be tall, running off the grass onto the steps, onto the planter and stuff like that. And somehow, I'm not really sure, I don't really remember, but the green thing that was in it, I don't remember what made me notice it, but I do remember that my foot had made contact with it, and I started to notice it, and I was looking at it, and then I was like, something's wrong here. I seen the top to the green thing, and I felt like that may have been me who removed it, so I thought to put it back. And as I was trying to put it back, it was being mad difficult, so I started jumping on top of it to make sure it stayed on top.
Let's get back to you. At some point after this happened, you were contacted by the landlord of your facility.
Yes, but I didn't know that she was outside doing that.
I don't care. She's just acknowledged that she did it. Why would that bother you?
It doesn't bother me.
Well, then it's not relevant. She acknowledged that that's what happened. She was in the wrong place. She broke something. According to her, she tried to fix it by jumping on it. Clearly the wrong thing to do. So if there was damage as a result of that, there's no question she's responsible. Since she's a minor, her mother's responsible. It's that simple, okay? Do you have a video of what happened that afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, can we see that, please? This came from security camera?
Yes.
Footage of Niari jumping in the planter.
Okay, you're in the white shorts, right?
Yes.
What are you bending down to pick up?
The top.
You mean it's that heavy and then other
Wasn't
kids get...
heavy.
Shh. Okay, I got it. Well, you understand, Miss Freeman, if Miss Simmons can establish that something that your daughter did, which she did on purpose, knowing she wasn't supposed to be there, you're responsible for whatever damage she did as a result of, that's probably a sprinkler head. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because you say in your answer that you left for a period of time and she didn't properly supervise your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not true because your daughter's 14 years old. She's old enough to be outside unsupervised. There were younger children out there who knew enough not to jump around in the planter. She was the only one who jumped around in the planter. She was the oldest one out there.
Okay.
Do you understand? She was supposed to supervise them. If there was a 6-year-old who did that and she's outside, you would let a 14-year-old take care of a 6-year-old. And she doesn't require her supervision. And when she had a problem that day, and clearly it was a problem with somebody else's property, when the two of you were home that evening, did she tell you she had had a problem?
No, ma'am.
She didn't tell you anything about it?
No.
That she broke something?
No, ma'am.
Okay, when did she finally tell you she broke something?
When Kara contacted me that the apartments were contacting her, then I asked my daughter about it, and she told me what she told you.
Great. Can I see the letter from the complex, please?
Kara hands the document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it. Caption, coming up.
Do you know how many children she has?
She has 3 children.
So she's dispossessed from her apartment. That's 4 people who are homeless. She's going to lose this housing unless she pays the damage that your daughter caused. That doesn't seem reasonable for her to lose her housing, does it?
And later today.
There's no question in my mind that you left this mess because she was quadrupling your rent. But you were annoyed. You're still not allowed to leave a place like this.
A woman shakes her head. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kara, Jania, and Niari.
Kara Simmons claims her former friend, Jania Freeman, owes for water damage caused by Jania's 14-year-old daughter.
So what this says is that they looked at this video because they tried to determine what caused the leak in a commercial business operating in the building. The leak caused substantial damage, $9,927 to be exact as a result, because this was a water pipe and it was broken. Okay, and it tells her that unless they get this $9,927, she's going to lose her housing, right?
Yes.
Your fault. What can I tell you? Don't let your mother ask. I'm asking you, what's the issue? You caused the damage, whether you accidentally hit that pipe initially. You knew you shouldn't have been there. And it's clear that whatever you were doing, you were jumping with full force with both feet on that pipe. That's clear. You tried to pick it up. You leaned over at least twice to try to pick it up and then put it down and then stomped on it. Clearly, you weren't supposed to be there. The landlord is holding her responsible because under the terms of her lease, she's responsible for any damage caused by not only a member of her household, but an invited guest. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes if you're acting stupid, nothing happens. Sometimes if you're acting stupid, a lot of things happen. Do you know how many children she has?
She has 3 children.
They all live at home?
They all were there, yes.
Yeah. So if she's dispossessed from her apartment, that's 4 people who are homeless. She's going to lose this housing unless she pays the damage that your daughter caused. That doesn't seem reasonable for her to lose her housing, does it?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
The truth is that you don't host a party and you don't watch the children that are on your property.
They're teenagers. They're old enough to be outside alone.
All of those children were in the planter at some point, but it's fine.
There were no other children in the planter.
I would think that there should have been something for like flood, fire, or earthquake damage in place, so I don't know.
But she should take responsibility for her daughter. That's not my responsibility.
Judy.
Relatively simple. You know, I think that there is an age, Sarah, where even under these circumstances, a child can be out unsupervised. Certainly, the defendant's defense in her answer said that her daughter was out unsupervised because she left the party for something for a short period of time. Well, there's no issue that a 14-year-old
doesn't need to be constantly
supervised. You usually use a 14-year-old to
supervise others.
to supervise other young children.
I do think it was an accident. I think that she knew she probably wasn't supposed to be in the planter, but once we saw the video, it was playful. They were playing a ball from up high, down low. I understood the situation after we saw it. You also understood that the stomping full force as a 14-year-old could do some real damage, especially inside a planter that's supposed to be a delicate, untouched area. So I understood. I think the defendants were in a tough position. They knew it was their fault. I appreciated that they took responsibility for it.
The daughter did. The daughter did. I'm not so sure about the mother.
I think the mother saw the big price tag attached to the responsibility and maybe tried to backtrack a little. But yeah, I mean, accidents happen, but there are big consequences for...
She learned that lesson, this young woman, today.
I hope that they did.
Case 2185, Francis versus Morris. All parties, please step forward.
Danielle and Michael Francis are suing their former tenant, Anthony Morris, for property damage and loss of income.
Miss Francis?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is this?
It's my husband.
Well, this has to do with the ownership of a home. Do you both own the home, or just did you inherit the home?
It doesn't have to do with ownership of the home. It's a case about property damage.
I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
But somebody owns the home. Who owns the home is
I
the
do.
question. Not your husband.
Correct.
Have a seat. Let's not confuse it. Ms. Francis, you had a brother.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose name was?
Julius.
How old was he?
My brother was 38.
And your brother owned a home?
Yes.
How long did your brother own this home?
He just purchased a home in 2017.
Do you know how much he paid for it?
About $123,000.
Was there a mortgage on the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How much is left on the mortgage?
$110,000 now.
Do you know how much the house is worth?
Yes, ma'am. It's
much?
worth $213,000 now.
So almost double.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your brother passed away when?
June of 2020.
From what?
Pancreatic cancer.
So it was relatively fast.
Yes, it was. He was actually diagnosed in 2019. So in early 2019, I became his caregiver, taking him back and forth to the doctor and chemo visits, as well as my husband.
Okay. Now, Mr. Morris,
yes, ma'am.
You had been a roommate of Julius.
That is correct.
For how long?
I moved into the house on October 19th, 2019.
And you paid rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when Julius got sick, according to what I read, you never moved into the house with Julius. You just took him to where he needed to be. Is that correct? You lived with your husband.
Yes, ma'am.
You lived with your husband, and you came as needed to take your brother to medical appointments, et cetera. You lived in the house with him.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Partially.
What's not partially?
At the end of my brother's illness, I moved in with him because...
How much before?
I would say March of 2020.
So for a couple of months, towards the end, you moved in, but during the course of the year, you lived with your husband and you lived in the house with Julius. And when you were living in the house with Julius, did you give any assistance to him in any way?
Yes, ma'am. I took him to the hospital several times. I cooked for him, and I pretty much did the chores and ran the errands for him.
Did you know him before you moved into the house?
I did not.
Okay. After Julius passed away, you inherited the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he have a will?
Yes, ma'am.
And the will specifically gave you the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And you and the defendant determined that he would remain a tenant in June of 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
There came a time when you moved out, Mr. Morris.
Yes, that's correct.
And what month and year did you move out?
June 1st, I believe, 2022. Correct.
And what was the reason that you moved out?
I moved out because the rent had went up for a second time.
What was it when you were living with Julius?
$650.
And then when Miss Francis inherited the house, did she modify the rent?
She did.
In what month?
I'm not specifically, I can't answer that question.
What did she raise the rent to?
Approximately $1,200.
Was that the first increase?
That was correct.
How long did that increase stay in place?
That had to be for a year. That was the term of that lease.
And what happened after the year?
She raised the rent again.
To what?
Well, that's when I didn't accept that lease.
What did she ask?
$1,575.
She wanted $1,575.
Yes, ma'am.
And you determined that that was too much rent for you?
I did.
So you gave notice you were leaving?
I did.
Caption, coming up.
She's going to show me what she considers $5,000 worth of damage to the house. I want to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I want you to show me what damage you are ascribing to him from the house.
Okay, I have the pictures here, Your Honor.
Okie dokie.
Sarah smirks. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Danielle and Anthony.
Danielle and Michael Francis claim their former tenant, Anthony Morris, damaged their property while renting from them.
When did you give notice you were leaving?
30 days before June 1st.
Okay. And when was the lease up?
June 1st, it would expire.
Now, after your brother passed away and you inherited the house, did you maintain the same rent that he was paying to your brother?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So when did you raise his rent and to what amount?
I raised the rent in November.
Okay.
Of 2021.
To what?
To $14.95.
That was the first time you raised his rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you knew what his rent was when he was living with your brother?
Correct.
And how much was his rent when he was living with your brother?
It was $625.
So, in effect, you increased his rent a little over 200%.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. Can I explain the reason to that?
No, it's irrelevant what the reason was.
Okay.
He was paying rent of $625. You raised it to $1,500. Now, at the end of that term, were you going to raise his rent again?
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
To what?
It was going to be an $80 increase to $1,575.
Now, during that 2-month period that you lived in the house, you had no issue with regard to the way Mr. Morris maintained the house while you were living there with your brother. And that fact is buttressed by the fact that you maintained him as a tenant, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you saw the way he maintained the house, and having seen that, you continued him as a tenant.
Correct.
And you raised his rent substantially, and he paid that rent.
Correct.
And he paid that rent sufficiently so that you were prepared to re-rent him the house, but you just wanted a little more money.
Correct.
Correct. Now he moves out on June 1st of this year. And now you say that he caused almost $5,000 worth of damage. And because he had damage, you lost income because you couldn't re-rent the house.
Correct.
You moved out in June of 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a new tenant in the house.
Yes, ma'am, I do now.
And how much rent is she paying?
She is paying $2,200 a month.
And when did her lease start?
Her lease started in September.
So your premises was not rented for 2 months.
Correct.
And when it was rented from the 2-year period of time between your brother's death and your re-renting the house, the rent went from $625 to $2,200.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't sound like you're losing any money.
Well, there's
just a second.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like you're losing any money. So I'm not interested in the loss of income that you had. You had no loss of income. Anybody who lives in a house can't rent from June 1st House has to be painted, normal wear and tear. You may have to redo carpeting. That's the normal wear and tear. Had to be done because that's what you do when you want to get $2,200 rent from somebody for a house. You have to paint it up. You have to freshen it up. You have to do all of those things. So what I want to see from you are photographs of what, other than cleaning out the house, which Mr. Morris acknowledges for whatever reason there was stuff left in the house. Correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That belonged to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you didn't clean out.
I did not.
Now, you left on June 1st, and I'm telling her that she's going to show me what she considers $5,000 worth of damage to the house. I want to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
You agree that you left some stuff in the house. She probably has a bill for cleaning out some of that stuff. That she's entitled to. Now I want you to show me what damage you are ascribing to him from the house.
Okay, I have the pictures here, Your Honor.
Okie dokie.
Danielle produces photos.
Also, can I present in evidence what the room that the defendant rented out, what it looked like prior to the damages?
No, I don't see any damages. I see mess.
There's pictures in there, Your Honor.
I'm looking.
The damages. The carpet was damaged very badly. He messed up my mattress in my second bedroom. The doors was damaged. He actually changed the lock on the second bedroom door and the master room bedroom door without my
You see all this
knowledge.
stuff, sir? Shh,
Yes,
just a
ma'am.
sec. This is all your junk, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you should have a substantial bill for cleaning and getting rid of this.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Danielle produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
So you paid $760 to clean out the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Make it move in clean.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're entitled to, Miss Francis. $760. You can't leave a place like that.
Also, Your Honor, I had other damages as well. My microwave was broken.
I don't know who broke that, and you don't know.
I know it was working when he
Who
was
knows?
there.
May have been working, may have been not working.
Everything was in top-notch condition, from appliances to flooring, when Mr. Morris was at the house. So he broke my microwave.
Fix it.
I have fixed it, and I'm asking for the cost of a replacement for a new one.
No, wait.
Why not?
Because I'm not convinced, madam, that somebody who, according to you, helped you with your brother, was there and supportive for the last year of his life. He certainly left a mess, which you're not supposed to do, sir.
I understand.
You're not supposed to leave a mess. And this is clearly a mess. And there's no question in my mind that you left this mess because she was quadrupling your rent. But to her, this is a business. And she's not living there with her husband. This has now become a business investment. Her investment increased in value. It was really Julius's investment, but it increased in real estate value. And instead of seeing $600 a month, which probably doesn't cover the taxes and mortgage, she now has a profit because she's now getting $2,200 a month from somebody, and that covers, of course, her mortgage and whatever taxes they are. You were annoyed? You're still not allowed to leave a place like this. $760, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
Kind of upsetting because the defendant really trashed my brother's house, given that we considered him like family.
I was like family with him. I took care of the brother for a long period of time. I wouldn't have left the house like that.
And for him to turn around and do this and cause all those damages and then get off scot-free, it's heartbreaking.
Number one, there were no damages.
You know what? Nothing good ever comes to someone who does people like this.
Money does change people, and so you have to be careful.
Be careful who you rent to.
Sarah.
So I just did some research on the home while we were out there, and I found some interesting information just based on some of the plaintiff's claims. So I did find that the house was sold to the brother in 2017 for $123,000. But the plaintiff listed the home for rent for the first time July 22nd for $2,300 listed for rent when she became the owner.
And he moved out in June, beginning of June.
So her claim for lost income doesn't really make sense because she had it listed on Zillow at least. I'm not sure it could have been listed before then. That's just when Zillow picked up on it. I'm not sure how their algorithms work, but she was unable to get the $2,300 presumably because she reduced it to $2,200 in August of 2022. And then it was removed later in August at that $2,200 mark, presumably whoever, the new tenant that she now has.
So she had no real lost income.
Exactly. She had the month of maybe July, but if you have a tenant moving out June 1st, you give yourself 2 weeks notice as a landlord anyway to make the necessary painting, carpet
and
change.
sometimes it takes a little bit.
Exactly, and you don't find a tenant right away. So based on that, I wouldn't have given her any lost
income. For the he left the house a mess.
He did. He left boxes. He acknowledged it.
He left the place a mess. He left food in the refrigerator, and there's no way in one day, which he said, he was going to move all that stuff out. He was annoyed. Then you can't leave stuff that way. So she got her cleanup bill.
Yeah, well, she was entitled to.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
She called Child Protective Services.
She's pimped out her own daughter.
Clearly, that's your voice. Saying that you saw her using her child for prostitution. That's what you say in here. Vindictive and vile.
This is Judy Justice is suing her neighbors, Pamela Jackson and Ashley Jackson, for filing false CPS reports and defamation of character.
So the first 2 times that you called Child Protective Services, I think that they were iffy. And I believe, if you see something, say something. But this comes from a different place. All right.
A police officer.
Don't speak. I don't care what a police officer said to you, actually. I really don't care. You say that she called Child Protective Services in April.
April 7th.
Just a second. So Child Protective Services responded to a call on April 7th. And what was the gravamen of that call? Somebody was complaining that what? Do you know?
Yeah, she told
Not she. Somebody was complaining.
Somebody was saying that I had a knife, a child, and that I was kicking her car. The same thing she told the police officer the first time. Then whenever she came inside of my house, the CPS worker...
Just a second. She says she did not call Child Protective Services in April. That's what she says. So now you're going to show me proof that she called Child Protective Services in April. She acknowledges she called 3 times, all after August, either August, September, or thereafter. So show me proof that she called in April.
Lynette produces a cell phone, then hands it to Kevin.
Just tell her to press play.
He brings it to Judy.
Just press play at the bottom.
Sarah activates an audio file on the phone.
All these in Galveston knew how to take care of their men. They wouldn't be paying her to take care of them. She's very proud of this. She's proud of she doesn't care that her kids are there. I've seen signs of things that have happened. There was one incident, and yes, it did get reported to CPS. Yes, there's a video out there. Now I'm going to have to go find the video where one of the guys that comes out giving her money, the daughter is sitting there kind of grabbing herself money, almost like something happened. So it's almost like Lynette actually pimped out her own daughter. What kind of mother is going to A, have do her prostitution in front of her kids, and B, allow them around her daughter?
How did you get this audio?
She posted that on TikTok. And the first time that they came, April 7th, CPS, they told me that those were the allegations that were made.
Clearly, that's your voice.
It's
clearly, just a second.
That was after.
Clearly, that's your voice.
Yes, that's my voice, but I'm not the one that called. I learned about the allegations. She called the police.
Clearly, that's your voice. And those are pretty serious allegations, because you're not only accusing her of committing a crime in front of her children, you say in this audio, which is on TikTok, is that where it is?
See if there's
people are so crazy, that she is using her daughter, who is 7. That's what you say on here. That's pretty vicious.
At the time,
just a second. That's pretty.
Your Honor, she's claiming that I'm a prostitute.
Just a second. Does it sound as if right now, I told you, I don't care if you have to parallel park.
There's another TikTok to why that one was posted that would clear more information.
I don't care if you have something that would clear more information, madam.
She accused me of being arrested for calling CPS when I wasn't.
And that particular CPS call, somebody else, she called the police after
Did
that.
you? Hey, did you post this on a just a sec? Hey,
got fired for.
That's your voice. And I don't care if you're having a private conversation with somebody, if you're saying to somebody privately, this is what I think is going on there, this is what I think. You posted this on a public platform, accusing her, not only accusing her, but saying that you saw her home being used for prostitution and her using her child for prostitution. That's what you say. Hey, that's what you say in here. And it was posted because that's the only way you get it.
Views, unlike hers, that had over 4 million.
Just to say, I'm telling you that is egregious. That is egregious. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
I didn't ask you for anything. Have you ever been, careful, have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
If you haven't been arrested, you couldn't have been convicted of a crime. You have 2 children. How old are they?
7 and 8.
Who do you work for?
I'm a home health caregiver for a company.
You work full-time?
Part-time, because I was a student.
Where?
In Galveston College.
Is that a brick-and-mortar school?
It's a community college.
But it's a brick-and-mortar school. It's not online.
No, it's public.
When I say it's a brick-and-mortar, it's a building rather than something in the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. Outrageous. That's outrageous.
Lynette wipes a tear from her eye. Caption coming up.
She ended up taking my can and going like this.
Pamela makes a ramming motion.
Literally shoved it into me 4 times.
I don't see her going like this into you 4 times. I don't see that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Lynette, Pamela, and Ashley.
Lynette Hernandez claims her neighbor, Pamela Jackson, defamed her on social media. Pamela says she called CPS on Lynette after she witnessed abuse.
Okay, when's the 3rd time you called?
The 3rd time, she was outside with her child. Her child threw a ball at her. She took the ball and with full force, she took it and threw it at his face. She also threw it at his groin. Then when he was upset and crying, she looked at him and told him, "You've been hit harder than that in soccer."
Okay, did you have a video
we have
of
a
that?
recording.
I'd like to see it. Which one is your phone? The happy face or this face?
Kevin hands a phone to Ashley, who hands it back to him.
Here's the one where you can see him being hit in the groin. And then there's another one too.
Kevin brings the phone to Sarah, who hands it to Judy.
Thank you.
Footage of Lynette playing with a beach ball with 2 children.
I'm not sure what this is showing.
Well, she's playing ball with her 2 children out in the front. It's a big, looks like a big beach ball.
Oh, that.
And then she throws the ball in it, but it's in a light-spirited, in a very light-spirited way. These are not angry.
The other one's not.
These are, oh, I got it.
Just a mother playing with her children.
CPS closed all of these cases after they came out and interviewed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was ruled out because they didn't find anything.
Okay, now I'm going to hear one thing from you, only one thing, and that's your counterclaim, because I don't care about police, I don't care calling the police. You're all entitled to do that. CPS is a whole different thing.
If I could add something, please?
Not unless it's on video, because what you showed me so far.
I got document for this one.
What?
We've got documentation on this one.
On what?
In retaliation, she called CPS on my daughter who doesn't have kids.
Who cares? Then your daughter's not at risk if she has no children. CPS responded based upon at least 3 times, maybe 4, but at least 3 times. And so far, nothing that I've seen, other than the fact that you were annoyed, would require or suggest child abuse or neglect. So I'm telling you, that's trouble for you. All I want to hear now is you claim she assaulted you. That's your counterclaim. I don't want to hear about anything else. You claim she assaulted you.
Well, we have 2 parts to that.
Just
We
a
also
second.
have defamation.
All I care about, you have to understand, I find that what you and or your daughter did by calling Child Protective Services vindictive and vile. And it took people who should be out there really looking to take care of children, who are really abused and or neglected took their time to come out, do an investigation, all because of vindictiveness. Because I saw nothing. If I were trying a neglect case...
I have video of a cop telling me to call
Just a
CPS.
second. Just a second. I don't care. You have shown me the basis that you used to call Child Protective Services. You took the video of it. And I'm telling you, that was my business for a quarter of a century. I would never make a finding of neglect based upon anything that you had here. Anything. So now, follow directions. You know, I told you, I'm an equal opportunity abuser. I told her she's got to learn how to parallel park and not tell people where to park on the street. All I'm interested from you is tell me about this assault that you allege occurred.
The night of the assault, and we have video of it. I
just
get that ready.
date, just a second. Date.
November 27th, this past year, 2022. It was in the evening. I was outside changing my cameras, and she came home and took my trash can because she had put hers in front of my car that day, or the day before, and the cops even, because at first she...
No. Don't go off on a tangent.
Okay, so she took my trash can, put it in the middle of the road. She likes to try to get me tickets, so I went to go move it. She kept pulling it and moving it back out there. So finally I went to go grab her can to move it over. Well, she ended up taking my can and going like this.
Pamela makes a ramming motion.
Literally shoved it into me 4 times. I ended up with scratches and bruises.
Okay.
I've got a back strain and
I'm going to see.
arthritis.
I'm going to see.
I've got
the
medical record.
Just a second. I'm going to see the video of that and the police report.
Can you pull that video? I don't have my phone.
Your Honor, I have a video of the whole incident.
Is this ours?
Yes.
My phone.
Pull up that video.
Kevin hands Ashley her phone.
We have it on the monitor if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Footage of Lynette and Pamela. Subtitles.
I'm about to move it. Stupid.
Lynette moves a garbage can, then returns to a vehicle. Pamela moves the garbage can in front of Lynette's car. Subtitles.
Let me park my car. Let me park my car. You can keep it up there. I'm parallel parked. What are you going to do?
Unintelligible.
I don't give a... Let me park my car.
Unintelligible.
You're gonna make her do it. It's all about. Why you...
Unintelligible.
You want me to hit you?
Unintelligible.
I don't see any...
Your Honor, I have a video of the whole
Just a second. I don't see anything there.
Those are just clips.
Just shh. I don't see anything there. Miss Jackson, I see 2 ladies fighting over the trash cans. I don't see her assaulting you.
It was the trash can she got me with.
I don't see it. I don't see her going like this into you 4 times. I don't see that. I don't see it. Now I'll look at a police report. That's your video. Do you see her shoving a trash can into 4 times?
You can see that they come together with both trash cans, but not much more.
Stupid. People acting stupid.
Kevin hands a document to Judy, who reviews it.
Nonsense. Stupid.
Your Honor, I have the video of the whole incident of how it first started.
I'd like to see
Because she
it.
made a...
I'd
Where's
like
my
to
pink phone?
I gave them all
Pink phone.
Every angle of it.
Because she...
That's
Pink phone.
your
She
production
lied.
check.
Don't speak. I'm not...
She made another false accusation saying that I was the one who put it in the middle of the street. I came, and she was the one who came first and started putting it in the middle of the street. And I'm going to find the video for you.
Yeah, you know, I really don't care. Listen to me, Miss Hernandez.
Yes, ma'am.
Take your phone. I really don't care.
Okay.
I look there and I don't see an assault.
Okay.
I don't see an assault, and that's really all I was interested in.
Caption coming up.
You showed me your best evidence. You said I have it all recorded. Why I called Child Protective Services.
Because there's clips. I couldn't get
This is not a
tell you what
because.
led up to that.
This is not a because.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Lynette, Pamela, and Ashley.
Defendant Pamela Jackson is accusing her neighbor, Lynette Hernandez, of abusing her children. Lynette claims Pamela posted damaging content on her social media.
Okay, Miss Jackson, when we started out this case, I said to Miss Hernandez, in effect, don't be a big baby. You have to park your car, learn to parallel park, and you can't tell somebody else that they can't park in front of their house. And you were absolutely right. Right? Mm-hmm. You owe her $5,000. I'm entering a judgment on her behalf of $5,000 for your erroneous call to Child Protective Services. That's my judgment. Don't do it again. Don't take. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Hey, listen to me. Listen to me. I'm speaking. You showed me your best evidence. You said I have it all recorded. Why I called Child Protective Services. You showed me. There was nothing there in the videos you showed me.
Because they're clips.
This is not a because. This is not a because. This is not a because. I also find what you posted on TikTok abhorrent.
What she posted was worse. And it's viral. You didn't even give me a chance to present
Just a second. The only thing that I am hearing are the calls to Child Protective Services and your assault. I didn't see the assault, but I saw Child Protective Services. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Pamela and Ashley, then Lynette.
I overheard a lot more than what was, and saw a lot more than what was being shown.
I got justice because you shouldn't waste resources, you know, on something, on accusations, sick and false like that.
I wouldn't have all these cameras if she wasn't constantly harassing me, calling the police on me.
Everybody gets along except her. She's the problem.
She wants to become TikTok famous. When she realized her videos of defamation against my mother was getting a big hit, she was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this on.
I'm not trying. It just happened.
We've tried to ignore her. She's the one that keeps doing it.
There's been things that she's done, and it's just all out of pettiness.
Wait for the police to finally arrest her.
Thank you, Judy Justice.
Judy and Sarah.
So I have two comments.
Okay.
Because we've had lots of cases with regard to parking spaces, parking in the street, and that sort of stuff. And have neighbors start off wrong, usually because of something. This was a car thing. But you have to be sensitive to the limited resources of people who are supposed to protect children. And if you keep calling them over nonsense because it really emanated from a parking space, you touched my car, it's parked too close, that's not a tool.
Yeah.
That's not a tool. And we have to fortify that statement that it's not a tool to call a governmental agency that has limited resources because somebody's bumping into your car.
Yeah.
And there are ramifications of posting that sort of stuff without any modicum of proof, just because you're making up this
I was pretty
fantasy in your head.
outraged listening to that as well, hearing, like you had said, I could speak to a friend or a family member at home and say, I've seen some weird things about my neighbor, I'm not sure if something weird is going on there, but those were concrete, seemingly factual statements that she was making about her neighbor that were inaccurate and, like you said, had no basis.
If true, she belongs in jail, which is not true.
No.
In my judgment, just the limited contact that I had. They both behaved badly. I was talking about this Gen, whatever it is.
Oh, us Gen Z. You realize that's my generation as well.
Yeah, yes, it is. So
go easy on us. Remember who raised us.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
And probably part of it was us. But I heard a really funny story. We were talking about this entitlement, you know, young people in entitlement. And one of my friends said, I went into a store, you know, where they usually have one shoe out, and if you want the other one, you have to ask a sales associate to please get you the other shoe to prevent people from walking out with two shoes. So he went over to the sales associate. The place was relatively empty. He said to the sales associate, could I get the mate of this shoe? And this kid, who was about 25, 28 years old, you know, looked like a schlump. His response to him was, why me? Why me? Why did you ask me? There are 4 other sales associates here who could get you the other shoe. Why did you pick me? Bizarre. I'm praying for some sort of a miracle for this generation, some sort of an awakening. Anyway.
There's some good ones in the generation that might just save us.
There are some great ones.
So.
Just a minute. There are great ones. There are great ones. But there's a very unfortunate thing because neither one of these two people are moving.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you a victim of an assault? Go to Judy Justice.
This has to do with sports.
Yes. I put the money to the team. He runs the team. It wasn't just, I'm going to give you the money and you go do with it what you want.
I wasn't paid anything.
I fronted the money for the uniforms.
I didn't go to 7 years postgraduate school to discuss a pair of socks. I don't care.
This is Judy Justice. Jason Gabriel is suing his former friend, Lawrence Sr. for money he gave Lawrence to run a boys' basketball team.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2167, Gabriel versus Senior.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gabriel, it's always exciting for me when I find a case that I can't relate to based upon my own personal experience. And this has to do with sports.
Yes.
And those people who know me know that I'm really a non-functioning American when it comes to sports. I understand baseball, but nothing else. However, I have a little bit of experience with people. So you have a son, that would be you. Could you stand up for a moment? Who's tall, now you can sit down, and who likes to play basketball.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he's been playing basketball for a long time. Well, most sports stopped at the start of the pandemic. And he was playing for a team.
Yes, Your Honor.
I know that I'm going to get fuzzy on this eventually. So far, I'm holding up okay. So he was playing for the team. The team closed down, as did most other things. And the pandemic is sort of winding down, and sports are coming back. And you wanted your son to play basketball because this is your senior year in high school?
No, I'm a freshman in college, Your Honor.
Last year, so this happened last year?
Yes, I was a senior.
So this happened last year when he was a senior in high school, and you wanted him to play because he enjoyed it and because you thought somebody would find him? A scout?
Mostly the enjoyment, but there's always a chance for the scout.
Okay, and you know, you're his father, and fathers always think that their sons are uber talented and maybe can be one of those quiet self-starters who turns out to be the hero on the basketball court. I have a grandson who plays baseball, and he plays baseball pretty well. Plays in college. His father follows him around from one game to another like it was a full-time job.
I can relate to that.
It is.
Well, your son wanted to play. There was no team. The defendant was a basketball coach who you knew.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whose team was also the teams that he coached were also defunct because of COVID. So far, correct, Mr. Senior?
Yes, ma'am.
So at some point, you approached him and said, I'd love to start up this team again because I would like my son to play ball. He wants to play ball, and nobody else is doing it that I know of. What would it take to restart a team that could be part of a league or play other teams, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Yeah.
Is that close?
Yeah.
You're close.
You're close.
Yes.
Close enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So you talked about an amount, and Mr. Senior said, I can start the team up for $8,500.
Yes, ma'am.
You, who wanted desperately for your son to play ball his senior year, said, I'm going to give you the money. You gave him $8,500. So far, correct?
$8,200.
It's $8,500, Your Honor. I have the check right here if you'd like it.
Okay. If you have the check, cash it. So it's $8,500. The team only played one game or one tournament?
No, it was actually four tournaments in total for that season that we played.
And how many are you supposed to play?
We had planned on 6 in total. 1 would be out of state or far away.
No. How many games were supposed to be played by your son's team being coached by the defendant?
So a tournament could have 3 games. And that takes over the course of a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday.
So
a tournament could be 3 games.
A tournament is 3 games.
Could be 4 as well if you're successful.
Okay, so you were supposed to have 4 tournaments?
We were supposed to have 6 tournaments, and we did have 4.
Okay, so you played most of the games?
Yes.
And then the team was disbanded?
Yes.
For whatever reason, may or may not be relevant. So how much money do you want back? You're suing him for $4,800.
Right.
Well, you know, math is my second non-strong suit.
Yep.
But if you paid him $85 and you played 2/3 or 3/4 of the games that you were supposed to play, why do you think you would be entitled to $4,800 back?
Because I also fronted the money for the uniforms.
Well, that was spent.
And the graphics.
Well, that was
in
spent.
addition to the $8,500.
I understand that, but that was all spent. The uniforms the players got.
Right.
And they kept them?
The players kept some, and the defendant has the rest of them.
Okay, do you want them back?
I do not.
Well, he'll give them to you back if you want them, because he's not using them.
How do I know that? This is his team, his organization. It's a non-for-profit company.
Okay, let's deal with this slowly. We're dealing with the math first. Do you have, Mr. Senior, do you have any of the uniforms?
No, ma'am, I never collected the uniforms.
Did you
sole
have?
Possession.
What?
Well, he had sole possession of the uniforms.
So you don't have any uniforms?
No, he's the one that handed them out.
Okay. Did any of the players give them back to you?
No, none of them gave.
So you don't have any uniforms? He
No.
doesn't have any
Okay,
uniforms?
but Your Honor, it didn't cost $85 to run the team, that's my.
Just a second. Not what we're talking about, sir. Your $8,500 went to have 6 tournaments. You had 4 tournaments, right?
Yes.
Whether or not you get your money back is a whole other thing. But the uniforms were purchased. That you don't get back. The advertising graphics were done. That you don't get back.
But that's
Whether
not
it's for
my
4
name on
or
it.
6.
That was his team's name on it.
Doesn't matter. What difference does it make?
Caption coming up.
Majority did not pay.
Do you have anything that requires that they pay in a contract?
That would be Coach Larry that he does, and he passed out those to the kids.
No, he didn't put in $8,500. You did.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jason and Lawrence.
Jason Gabriel claims his former friend, Lawrence Sr., owes him money after they started a boys' basketball team.
Now, can you tell me why the tournaments were cut short, sir?
There was a number of reasons, Your Honor. One of them was right from the start, both me and my other son tried to discourage Mr. Giamni about forming a team of that age group.
Okay, I don't want to get back into that, sir. You took his money, you played 4 out of the 6 tournaments. How much were you paid to coach out of this $8,500?
I wasn't paid anything.
Did you?
It's more of an administrative cost.
What administrative costs?
Scheduling tournaments, gyms, gas, transporting kids that didn't have rides. More than half the team was not supported by their family. At least one kid was homeless.
Was there an accounting that you asked for, sir?
Yes, that was my initial response to Coach Larry. Was yes, he told me $8,500 to start the team.
No, I'm asking you an
And then
accounting at the end of the day.
I asked him where the money went. Like, could he account for $8,500 in addition to $1,600 that other kids paid to play? That's how I was going to get my money back. It wasn't just, I'm going to give you the money and you go do with it what you want. He told me it was $8,500 to start the team, and I would get my money back.
Oh, from what source?
The kids pay to join the team.
Okay. How many people were on the team?
We had as many as 14, maybe 16 come through.
To tryouts. They didn't play. I'm sorry.
Judy gestures for a man beside Lawrence to rise.
How you doing, Your Honor?
How am I doing? I've been better. You're his son?
Yeah, I actually run the program with him. Yes.
Okay, good. So how many young men were playing basketball?
On the team that you're talking about that's in question, I believe there was as many as 10 to 12 that actually came. The numbers vary because we're talking about 18-year-old children that come and go as they please. They don't really want to be that.
18-year-olds are maybe children to their parents. They're not 18-year-old children.
When it comes to this, then
the
responsibility part, yeah. I don't know, I'm old, I guess. They're children to me still. Sorry.
What I want to know is, did you have a contract with him, a written contract?
I did not.
You just said, here's your $8,500 and I'll get my money back when the kids sign up and pay their dues. How much do they pay each to join the team?
Coach Larry set that number at $600 per player.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we tell you where that number comes from? Over the years, because we've been doing this for over 20 years, the average cost to run a team for a full season, we averaged it out to be about $600 per kid, because on a 10 to 12 man roster, 10 being the least you should have.
How does he make money?
We don't make money, I'm sorry. We don't make any money.
So you don't make any money, you just do this for the love of the sport?
He grew up in a basketball family, he's played basketball all his life. I've been in a sports family, my brother has, and we just love sports.
So this is not a money-making operation?
Not at all. We probably put in more money than we've made or put out in the program. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Your Honor, I coach high school football. Actually, his son goes to the school I coach. So I was aware of him, and I also coach baseball. So I just don't, you're not going to make any money coaching youth sports if that's what everybody's saying.
Well, I'm just asking you.
No, I know that.
I'm just asking you, because there is a suggestion here that some of that money was to pay you as coach. And I just want to know whether that is in fact correct, whether any of this $8,500 went to you.
Not directly, no. Talking about gas.
Indirectly to pay for gas and pick up
maybe a
that.
car repair. I only had one car at the time.
Okay.
So
Mr.
me and my wife
Gabriel,
were retired.
Mr. Gabriel, can you tell me if you have, since you have no written contract,
Yes.
you have no written contract requiring anything, you're supposed to start up a basketball team, which he did. I assume you played, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you played in 4 out of 6 tournaments. Stand up next to your dad. Did you play successfully?
I only played 3 out of the 4 tournaments.
That's reasonable.
But we were
Is
successful.
that normal? That members, I don't even know how many people are on the basketball court at a time.
5 at a time.
What?
5 at each team at a time, so 10
5
total. Yes.
Well, if you had 10 to 12 kids, you what? What are you laughing at? I don't know.
I tried to expose it to you before this case. I tried to put it on TV. I played the Lakers.
So if I
and
go
the
back up to
Clippers.
2019, we met Coach Larry in 2019. I didn't just pick him out of the blue now.
I didn't suggest that you picked him out of the
So
blue.
my son
Mr.
played for
Gabriel.
him in the past.
Mr. Gabriel, you don't look like the man that would give some stranger $8,500 to start up a team, not knowing him.
Correct.
Okay, I accept that. I just don't understand that are you a business person?
I am.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm a contractor.
Well, if you're a contractor,
Yes.
that I know. You have contracts.
Absolutely.
You're a contractor has contracts. And the contract that you do, you build homes or you build...
I remodel homes, yes.
Okay. So the contracts that you do lay out with specificity what you're going to do, what the materials cost are, what the VIG is on it, within a certain amount of play. But it lays out everything that you're going to do. You're turning over $8,500 to the defendant, and there is nothing in there that suggests that with any specificity what he has to do to comply. He had to start a team, which he did, right? Had to start a team, which he did, where your son played.
Yes.
Which he did. There were supposedly 6 tournaments, out of which 4 were successfully played, and your son played in 3 of them, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you should have been happy. Somebody got a chance to see him. Did anybody give you a basketball scholarship?
I do play Division III basketball in Brooklyn.
Good for you. There you go. Did somebody find you at one of these games?
No.
How were you recruited?
I did multiple showcases, and I won in Connecticut in particular.
He's a good player, Your Honor.
He's a good player.
And so I was found through showcases that I did by my own.
Okay. But you played, and there was good practice. It was good.
Yes.
I don't know why it was disbanded after 4 tournaments. Do you? Do you?
Yes. There was multiple players who did not want to play anymore because they were verbally abused by the coach, and they just were fed up. And then there was other players that were let play for free, and people just thought that was unfair.
What do you mean with not play for free? Explain that to me.
That they were just let on the team without paying.
Oh, so some people were disturbed that some people paid to play and some didn't.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have anything that requires that they pay in a contract?
That would be Coach Larry that he does, and he passed out those to the kids.
No, I'm asking you for your... He didn't put in $8,500, you did.
Caption, coming up.
Here it says, use some fees to catch up on my mortgage. I assume that's your home mortgage.
Correct, after the season was over.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that, sir. Do you understand?
Lawrence lowers his eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Jason and Lawrence.
Jason Gabriel is accusing his former friend, Lawrence Sr., of owing him money after their boys' basketball team ended.
Go ahead, sir.
I put the money to the team. He runs the team. I can't tell him how to run his team.
No, would you have a contract, sir, that tells you what your $8,500 was to be used for, and the expectation that you were going to get that money returned to you via fees that were paid to each individual player. That has to be it. And in the event that they don't pay, who's going to pay?
Well, I do have a text message from the defendant saying, I did not use all the money. It did not cost $8,500,
Okay,
and I will pay you back.
That's what I would like to see. because it was disbanded for whatever reason. All your reasons, sir, are hearsay. What is your first name?
Gianni.
Gianni, the reasons are hearsay. Why people left, they didn't like to be yelled at, they didn't like some people. That's all stuff that I can't process as a jurist in my head. All I know is this is a contract case. So now he paid $8,500, and did you, Mr. Senior, at some point say the $8,500 hasn't been all used up, and I'll give you back some of the money?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And this is also a text message saying he used it for his mortgage and that he agreed to pay me $400 a month to pay back the
Okay. Coach, fees to catch up on my mortgage, use some fees to catch up on my mortgage, at least $1,500. And between operating costs, there is roughly $2,400 left.
Correct.
Well, that's what you wrote to him.
Yeah, and I was willing to give him the money that the kids had paid up front.
No. There is roughly not the money that the kids paid up front, sir. You say to him in your text, after this was all over, because I assume that this is all over after the team was disbanded, there is roughly $2,400 left. So I'm going to have to work out sort of a payment arrangement, if you don't mind, which means you didn't have the money, but it was left over and you spent it on something else. And it's here it says, use some fees to catch up on my mortgage. I assume that's your home mortgage.
Correct, after the season was over.
Well, you can't do that. You can't do that, sir. Do you understand? Okay, well, this acknowledges several things. It acknowledges that he used $1,500 to catch up on his mortgage, right? And that, according to you and according to your son, whether or not you took a fee for yourself, paying your home mortgage is a fee. Do you understand that, sir?
I do.
All righty. So
I sure do.
You sure do. So $1,500, did you pay him back the $1,500?
No, because at that point...
No, the answer is no. And you said even after the $1,500 that you used to pay your home mortgage, there was still $2,400 left. That's what you said in here. That's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then you add 24, and 15 is 009 is $3,900.
Yes.
Even my rudimentary math suggests to me that that is a correct number. Well, that's minimally what you owe him, your mortgage payment and the $2,400 left. You're suing him for $4,800.
Right.
This acknowledges 39.
Absolutely.
Prove to me any more.
So I went back to Mr. Senior and I said, I didn't necessarily believe that it cost $5,500 to run the team. I said, so therefore, you owe me $5,000. I said, you need to either get a loan and pay me back, or he said, I can't get a loan. I can give you $400 a month.
I'd like to see the exchange.
I said, if you're going to give
I'd like to see the exchange. Just because you said, I think it's $5,000.
And this is where he says, I'd like to pay you back.
Jason hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
This doesn't say anything about $5,000.
And this is where I told him that he misappropriated money that was owed back to me, and that was his response.
Just because you said it, he doesn't acknowledge here in his answer that it's $5,000. Silence cannot be construed as acknowledging $5,000. Even the math doesn't fit in. You played more than half the tournaments. So
can we see how much the tournaments cost then, please?
No, I'm not bothering. That's nonsense. Put something in a contract. You're a contractor. Have a contract. Right now, he owes you $3,900.
And not for the uniforms?
No.
That has his team?
No, he says he doesn't have the uniforms.
Okay.
And I didn't go to 7 years postgraduate school to discuss a basketball uniform, a pair of shorts, and a pair of socks. I don't care.
The uniforms are $1,000.
Well, then somebody's overpaying for a pair of shorts. $3,900. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're finished.
Thank you.
Court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Lawrence, then Jason.
I think it was unfair.
I'm glad she ruled somewhat in my favor.
Because he sponsored a team.
And yes, did I do it for my son? I did, but there was 11 other young men that I did it for.
Fighting amongst each other, poor discipline, and the lack of financial support from the kids.
When you have a group of 18-year-old young men and you don't practice and you don't kind of reel them in and show them that you're the coach and that you run the team, it can get a little hairy.
It is what it is.
I did what I did for these young men. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Me and Jason's are friends. I don't think this is a deterrent.
Always have contracts.
Judy and Sarah.
Okay, so I know that when we got the paperwork on this case that you really tried hard to give me a rudimentary lesson in basketball.
I did. Those years managing in high school really paid off today. So
yes,
learned
that's right.
a lot.
You managed.
I did a basketball team, so I know a little bit about AAU. A lot of the kids that played at the school that I went to had previously played on AAU teams, so I kind of get
What's
the dynamic.
AAU?
Oh, Amateur Athletic Union, AAU.
I never would have figured that.
Me neither. So they played on a lot of AAU teams before coming to high school, so I know a little bit about the structure. And when I read it, it's a nonprofit organization that kids play in to get exposure, hopefully to move up to the next level of basketball. But to me, I read it as he was sponsoring the team for $8,500, sort of like how you see in Little League, you know, Johnny's Pizza across the front of the
No,
team's
that
uniforms.
wasn't this.
But this seemed like a different type of setup, and to go through the coach directly, I'm not sure the very specific structure of who gets paid and who doesn't, who sponsors and who doesn't, but definitely paying your mortgage out of an $8,500 that was meant to start a team seems a little outside.
Yeah, well, it's
scope.
outside the box, especially since both he and his son say they do this without compensation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have to take money and put it in your pocket. If you take money out of that account and pay your personal mortgage, that's getting paid. Yeah. It was not a difficult case, and the text messages made the whole thing a lot easier. Now I know that there were 5 people on a court from each team.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You were married for 10 years,
Correct.
and you want your father's tools back.
I sold the tools.
She is a manipulator.
I sold them just to pay the mortgage and to feed the kids.
I'm going to get out my violin, madam. You can't sell somebody else's property.
This is Judy. Andrew Scruggs is suing his ex-wife, Lori Watsager, for the cost of tools she wrongfully sold.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2189, Strubs versus Watsager.
Thank you.
Judy turns to Andrew.
Mr. Scruggs, you have brothers and sisters?
No, ma'am.
Were your father and your mother? Who predeceased whom?
My mother died when I was 17 years old, and my father died in 2019 after a long-time illness, and he had his tools at my property.
You and the defendant were married for 10 years.
Correct.
You separated in what year?
2016.
And when you left, she stayed in the house.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Sometime prior to 2016, according to you, you borrowed some tools of your father's.
That's correct. I actually
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the tools that you borrowed from your father were left in the marital home 2016, 17, 18. Your father died in 2019. You were divorced in 2000.
We were divorced in 2019 was the final judgment.
And then things sort of got away from you. So now we're in 2023, and you want your father's tools back or money for them, according to you, $10,000 worth.
Yes, ma'am.
Ridiculous. Let's start out with ridiculous. Where were you in 2019?
2019 is when my father died, and shortly after he died, I was taking care of his affairs, and we still had an ongoing court case that consisted of our minor children at the time, and I was under advisement of my attorney.
Don't tell me what your attorney advised you. It's hearsay. You did nothing with regard to the tools. In what year did you borrow the tools from your father?
It was 2013. I brought the tools over to my storage shed, and...
Mr. Scruggs, you gotta let it go. You haven't had the tools in 7 years. You've been out of the house since 2016? 2016.
What, Your Honor?
And you've been, look at you, and you've been living. Who is this?
This is my current wife.
So, you got divorced, you remarried. When did you remarry?
I got remarried in 2018.
Well, so you found time to get married, right? Just a second. That's a yes or a no.
Yes,
you found time to get married.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a big wedding?
No, ma'am.
You had a small wedding. Do you have any children?
Yes, ma'am.
With your current wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
One child.
How old?
She's 5.
So you managed to have a baby. Well, I'm suggesting to you, sir, how many different jobs did you have since 2016?
I've had 2 different employers.
Since 2016, so you also looked for another job. and found another job. So let's see. You got married, you had a child, you changed jobs, but all of a sudden in 2023, the tools are important. Now, how many children did you and the defendant have?
2 children.
How old are they?
I have a 14-year-old and an 8-year-old.
You pay child support?
No, ma'am.
How come?
Because one of the children lives with me full-time.
For how long?
She's lived with me full-time for approximately 3 years.
But when you and the defendant separated, she was living with her mother.
Only for a short amount of time.
How long?
Probably about a year. And I paid support during that time.
And the other child?
Is 45-55 split.
So that's why you don't pay child support?
Correct.
And do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And at some point, so what do you want to say and why?
Just that the reason we were not able to do anything about the tools was that she had an order of protection.
The tools are stupid.
Was that she had an order of protection against him.
The tools are stupid. Orders of protection don't disqualify you from coming to small claims court.
They said that it wasn't able to.
Oh, no, what's a they? Oz? You were allowed to come for small claims court, file a petition and say, these tools belong to me. He didn't do it during the divorce. He didn't do it before your wedding. He didn't do it after your wedding. He didn't do it before your daughter was born. He didn't do it till after your daughter was born. She's now 5 years old. It's 10 years after the tools were moved from your father's house into the marital home. That would be a fair statement. 10 years. You said 2013. We're now in 2023.
Correct. And,
okay.
Your Honor, I do have here where my dad filed a police report where he was trying to recover the tools.
Well, unfortunately...
And the defendant here obviously lied to this officer here and told them that I didn't retrieve...
So I want you to forget $10,000, sir. It's not happening for you. Put a period. The only thing that I'm going to consider is she did, in fact, sell the tools. That she acknowledges. Now, she can't sell something that doesn't belong to her. And in what year did you sell the tools?
I sold the tools. Our divorce was signed in 2018. They had gotten married. He'd quit paying a mortgage, so I had to find a way to pay.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't you just tell me, in what year did you sell the tools?
It was on and off between August and October of 2018.
So you sold them piecemeal?
Yes, ma'am.
And you remember that, so you must have put an ad someplace.
I put an ad on Craigslist because I needed to pay the mortgage. And I didn't only sell his tools, I sold jewelry that was mine.
I get it, but you sold it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have an inventory about... First of all, they weren't his tools, they were his father's tools. But I've asked him whether or not he was an only child. He is an only child, so he would stand to inherit these tools unless there was another child that he doesn't know about because his mother predeceased his father. So...
Your Honor, I do have an inventory from that.
I don't care. Understand this. I don't care.
Caption, coming up.
How do you know it was $1,000 if you sold them over a 3 or 4 month period? And if the answer to that is I don't know, or I pulled out the number from my behind, then that's an answer. But not that I sold the tools to put food on the table for my children. That's not an answer.
And later today.
I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Andrew and Lori.
Andrew Scruggs claims his ex-wife, Lori Watsager, wrongfully sold his father's tools and kept the money.
You let it lapse too long. Your father died 4 years ago. You and the defendant are separated for 6 years. The tools were there for 10 years. Courts don't care. We use a whole bunch of things, statute of limitations, we use latches, we use all kinds of terms when people don't act quickly to assert their rights to something. Because we don't want to be bothered with what happened 10 years ago and 12 years ago with this kind of nonsense. We do it with certain things that are important. Crimes are important, so sometimes we let statute of limitations get blurry, but not this. But you sold the tools. You had no right to sell the tools, so he's entitled to the money that you got for selling the tools. Now, according to you, you sold all the tools for how much?
$1,000.
And how do you know it was 1,000? Because you say you sold it over a period of time.
Because I have the paperwork where I had submitted so many payments to the mortgage because I sold them just to pay the mortgage and to feed the kids.
Listen, I'm going to get out my violin, madam. I asked you a specific question.
Yes, ma'am.
My specific question is, how do you know it was $1,000 if you sold them over a 3 or 4 month period? And if the answer to that is I don't know, or I pulled out the number from my behind, then that's an answer. But not that I sold the tools to put food on the table for my children. That's not an answer. How do you know it was $1,000?
Because I had put that money into the bank. I paid the mortgage with it.
Your Honor, you're exactly right. The defendant here is a liar and a manipulator.
Just a second.
And she will tell you whatever she thinks that you want to hear.
Well, that's true, sir. And I don't believe she sold the tools for $1,000, but I don't know that.
Because
and you wait, just a
for
second.
$13,000.
Just a second.
I
What?
guarantee you.
Oh,
I guarantee she made $13,000, $14,000.
No, that's possible, sir. Prove it. Proof. Just a second. It's your burden of proof. You have to prove to me that she sold them for $13,000. And even then, you're late in bringing this suit. But you can't prove that.
Well, because she is a manipulator, is why this ex parte order and all
listen
this.
To me. I don't care. You're not following me. Courts, not me personally, courts, I am the court. We don't care because what you did was wait too long to assert a claim. You waited too long. According to you, you had COVID and the pandemic came in between and, you know, having another child and getting married to somebody else. All those were reasons you had personal issues why you didn't assert your rights in a timely fashion. So we're not going back to try to recreate something that you can't recreate. And neither can she, actually, because you don't have to keep track of something that happened 3-4 years ago.
Well, even in the agreed...
We're done. You have to understand.
Well, even our agreed judgment that she signed, I've texted her not 3 months ago trying to retrieve items.
Just a second. You have a judgment of divorce that says in the judgment of divorce she is to return the tools to you.
No.
Okay.
The tools are nothing in that judgment.
There's nothing. Okay. You sold them for $1,000?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't sell somebody else's property. And that's all that he can prove is what you say you sold them for. And I'm not sure that that's what you sold them for. But he waited too long. And the only thing that I can establish at this point is that you sold somebody else's tools for $1,000. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
The defendant, she obviously is a liar and manipulator, and she got a lot more than even the $10,000, and these were what I considered family heirlooms.
No, actually, no. I've got the documents for that.
Even after my father died, I looked at her and said, you know, we need to just fix this, and I came to her and said, you know...
Because he can't let me go.
If it's a matter of money, let me give you the money for the tools, and she still was selling the tools to, we think, her best friend.
Because they don't want me happy.
I'm sure glad that it's over, and hopefully we can coexist and take care of our son that we have together.
I'd like to be friends. I mean, it's for the children, anything to make the children happy.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what's more fascinating to me than anything else, and I have to when we leave today, I'm going to go back and look up the doctrine of latches.
It was a brief footnote, I think, in one of our case books.
Right, because we're talking 60 years ago when I went to law school. And I seem to remember you had both a statute of limitations, which was a formalized statute for certain causes of action, and you had to bring them within a certain period of time. That, I'm sure they taught you in law school. But I seem to remember, Sarah, there was a doctrine of latches which discusses why you're supposed to bring an action in a timely fashion.
More of a common sense argument as opposed to a
preservation of evidence, because people do away with it. And this is a perfect example.
I think they call it ripeness now, but same concept.
Maybe.
More of a way for judges like yourself to be able to use common sense in cases like this and say, there's no evidence that's going to be preserved 10 years later. You had all these opportunities. Common sense tells me, therefore, it's not ripe. And I think it's a good doctrine because although there might not be a set statute for this particular cause of action, it doesn't mean that evidence just appears out of nowhere that you're going to be able to use.
That you don't preserve.
Exactly.
That you don't preserve it. And certainly, he made a whole lifetime for himself in 10 years. divorced, remarried, had a child, had changed jobs, changed careers.
A lot can happen in 10 years.
Yeah, but what's not going to happen is you getting the tools back.
Yeah.
Case 2189, Hernandez versus Vieira. All parties, please step forward.
Sofia Hernandez is suing her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, for vet bills after her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
Yes.
you needed a place to board her for a weekend, long weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you or whatever and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16th.
Was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, she was in perfectly fine shape.
Yes.
She looked very sweet.
Thank you.
So what happened when she dropped the puppy off at your house?
Caption, coming up.
I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister and you saw what happened with the dog. Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Sofia and Cherie.
Sofia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery on the dog's leg, which was broken, while in your care.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Miss Hernandez brought Dolce to our house. We took her in, and we had also another
Not
dog.
me. I want you to tell me,
Yes.
you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so once you took her into your daughter's room, she was alone with the puppy?
No, all 3 of us were in the room. What we like to do is
No, I don't want you to tell me what you like to do. Okay. I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second.
Judy puts on her glasses, then consults a document.
Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard?
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. You weren't watching. You don't know what happened. If you were taking pictures that would be on your camera.
I have pictures here of Dolce that I was actually sending to
No,
Ms.
I don't
Hernandez.
care. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
think, I don't think so. But it's your choice. Let's go. I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister and you saw what happened with the dog.
Yeah.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of this courtroom. So if you were taking pictures, Abigail would be in those pictures.
Your Honor, I actually have a picture of her leg after I was bit by Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog, your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because you thought it would be cute. Your 10-year-old wanted to play with her. That's what happened. Can I see the vet bill, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
Sophia hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy for review.
So the invoice was $58.18?
For the surgery.
And $862. $66.08, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that you could take on at the time.
I was in the room with the dog. The dog jumped from the floor, and it was a freak accident. But
my dog was healthy, you know. She had just been at the vet. She's gotten her shots. She was healthy.
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but she's my baby. Turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out.
She had a fractured leg.
Freak accident, kind of feel like, I don't know, it wasn't fair.
They didn't give me one. They just ignored my messages asking for payment.
I'm glad the dog's okay.
Dulce's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
Judy and Sarah.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dog's in your care? The dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter because
no bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but
no, but it was negligent. Sure, because if you allow a 10-year-old,
if a dog breaks a leg, it doesn't break it on its own. Yeah,
it's your fault.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy.
আজিম না বলে প্যানেল ইউজ করে আপনি না দেখছেন
হ্যাঁ ও তো প্যানেল ইউজার
ওই একদল লোক আয়া কয় মানে ওই প্যানেল ইউজ করে না
আরে ওর কিছু অন্ধভক্ত আছে যেগুলো মনে করে যে ও খুব সাধু কিন্তু আসলে তো সাধু না
ভিডিও দেখাইবার পরেও ভাই বিশ্বাস করে না ভাই কয় যে অন্য এটা অন্য